Okay, guys. Well, I've got 12:01. Thank you for joining me today. And again, if you are watching this live, um, so guys, look, I've got three things for you today. Number one, the match warm up. I want to talk about what I used to do from time to time and what I know a lot of players do. And so we can screw up the match warm up to a point that it really gets into our head that we certainly start off the match with the wrong mindset on some of this stuff, and sometimes we can recover, but other times we don't. And so, what I want to kind of work you through today are some of the things that you might be saying to yourself in the match warm up. I know I did, and what we can do to change that. Second part of today is going to be Ask Me Anything, an AMA. Literally anything that's on your mind. Stroke technique, could be tactics, strategies, singles and or doubles, could be fitness, could be, I don't know, could be what's in the kitchen, what do you need to do, that kind of stuff. Anything like that, just let me know. And then next week, and this is really important to me, and I hope you guys will actually participate in this, is I'm going to add to the course that I produced and made available last week, which are the 5 habits for training to really reduce your skill level range. And I'm still getting some questions about what SLR means. So real quickly, it's just skill level range. Some days we play up to the top of our skill level, other days we don't. Other days we play down. And if that range is too big, where one day you're great, maybe not even for the whole day, maybe during the match you play great, and then some part of the match you don't. Right? It drives us crazy, and what happens with our confidence when we have a big range in our skill levels, we just are not confident. We don't trust ourselves, not only during the point where we've got a great shot choice in mind, but we just don't trust it, right? We don't know if we're going to hit this thing at the top of our skill level or if we're gonna do something at the bottom. So really the whole thing here is mindset training, which will help you bring up the bottom of your current range, the skill level range, more up to the top. So you have a very small range where you live at the top of it every match. And that's really where you build confidence, where you can trust between points as you start the next point. Hey, here's what I want to do to start the next point. And what you'll find, and I just had this thought, I'd never really thought about this before, but this is true. When you've got a small skill level range at the top, and you trust it, one of the parts of my 4 parts between points routine is, how do I want to start the next point? This is the third part of the routine. How do I want to start? Not how do I want to end it, not how I want to finish it, not what I need to do to win this point. And when you have a small skill level range at the top, you trust that all you need to think about is, how do you want to start this point, which has no result in mind. When your range is big and you don't trust it, you go, gosh, well, how do I end it? How do I end it? Because I don't trust that just by starting it is going to be good enough. So that's what SLR stands for. And in next week, when I come out with this course, I really want to hear from you guys. And I'm going to add to it. And what I'm adding to it is a section on, how do we play better in the real deal, in matches, league matches, tournament matches. Maybe it's just a super serious practice match that you've got scheduled, where, look, what you're practicing today is not a real practice. It's not a drill session. You're practicing how to play, how you want to be in the real deal. And so what needs to be in that course? What needs to be added to it that would make a big difference for you? What questions on your mind? If you do, maybe you don't, but maybe you're one of those players that you play great in practice, you're super relaxed, but then you get in the real deal and it's not the same. It just doesn't feel the same, right? We get tight, we get nervous, we get whatever, and it's really frustrating. It's really maddening. So this is, besides, I would say, the top spin serve technique wise, mentally, this is probably the most common question that I get asked, which is, how come I play so much better in practice than I do in the league stuff or the tournament stuff? So think about it. And you can either shoot me an email, brent@webtennis.com, or in the chat area, let me know what needs to be in this new section of my five mindset habits that help you create a small skill level range. All right, let's get rolling. So look, before we get started, and I know I've blabbed a lot so far, so hang here with me. I promise we'll get to everything. Look, I'm still offering a free 15-minute call. It is free, complimentary. It's on me. I'm not selling you anything. I just really want to hear what is the number one area in your game you'd love to get help with right now. And look, I promise to give you a plan, some kind of framework to get started so that you can end up with a result that you ultimately want. And it works two ways. I hear from you. I give to you what I think would help you. Maybe it's just one thing. And you know me, I'm really about simplifying stuff rather than overcomplicating it, rather than giving you too much, which I am right here, gosh darn it. Anyway, but in a call like this, I'm probably just going to give you one, maybe two things to get you going. But again, what it helps me do is be in touch with you guys and know what's on your mind. What are you thinking about? What do you need help with? So I don't know how much longer I'm going to keep this free call available, but for right now, if it's something you're interested in, and if you want to do it more than once, do it more than once. That's fine. Just go to webtennis.com/free 15 call. That's FREE 15, the number 15 call. And so there you go. What do we got next here? Let's see. All right, so let's get into this, why we can easily lose a match during the warm-up and why it's so important to think a certain way in the warm-up that sets us up to play at the top of your skill level range. I mean, sometimes we think our way down to the bottom of our skill level range. It's unbelievable what we say to ourselves, right? And so we've all got free will to say whatever we want to ourselves. And the more you say the right stuff, and I'm going to give you some things to think about here in the warm-up, the more we think about the right stuff, the more we play consistently at the top of our skill level range. So look, this is, I think what got me thinking about this is I got a response from someone a few weeks ago. I asked this question, what's your number one mental thing? And he said, he gets in the warm-up and he said, what stroke is going to screw up today? And I just kind of chuckled and I said, that's probably maybe, I mean, it's common to a certain degree, but I think what happens is we get in there and the warm-up becomes a little punch list of let's check in with see how our strokes are doing today, right? Do I actually have my forehand today? Do I have my backhand? As if there's a, in practice you do, but now there's this different arena where for some reason it might not be there today. It might be completely AWOL. Okay, well, it could be, but the way you think about that can't be, something like, well, if one or more of them doesn't feel quite right, then what we typically do is we get into a quick assessment of what's wrong with it, right? We kind of figure out, well, the correction is usually so anxiously focused. We're so intense. We got to get this thing figured out because the match is about to start and the rest of our strokes start to suffer because you're wondering what other stroke is about to go in the tank as well. So what I want you to do, if you actually get in there and if you start thinking that way, hey, I'm doing a check-in with my strokes. I've been working like a dog with my pro. I've been working like a dog on the ball machine and this and that I really want to make sure it's there. Well, you know what? Good for you. I'm glad you're working with a pro. I'm glad you're out there drilling ball machine. Maybe you got a practice partner. But that doesn't mean that some of the stuff is automatically going to be where you want it to be. It's just where it is right now. And because you're more relaxed in practice, it might be a little bit better for a while in practice than it is in the real deal in the match. But that's not eventually going to be the case. So here's what I do. When I get in there and I'm either not feeling great that day or, I've got one stroke that, let's say it's my forehand ground stroke, for example, that just, God dang it, I just flew one deep. God dang it, I just hit one in the net. God dang it, I can't seem to, okay, stop thinking about how to do it. Stop thinking about there is no correction. All I'm going to focus on is exhaling through contact, right? And really what that does for me, it actually is another way of telling myself to watch the ball, because if I'm going to exhale right through the moment of contact, I got to be looking at the ball. And so rather than telling myself, hey, watch the ball, which is such a generic, not specific enough for me in terms of what it does for my stroke. Well, when I exhale through contact on my forehand ground stroke, for example, in the warm up, then I have to watch the ball. I'm just watching it. So that would be the thing that I think if you've got, whether it's a backhand, whether it's on the volleys, whether it's a forehand, whether it's an overhead, maybe in your serve, you're not feeling great, just exhale, look up at the toss, exhale through contact. Well, what does that do, right? You're looking at it, as I just said, but you're also exhaling. You're also blowing any kind of tension out and sort of releasing energy and relaxing yourself, which I'll bet you do a lot more in practice than you might do in the warm-up of the real deal. So try that, okay? We might start to freak out because, whoa, that dude's got himself a monster forehand over there. All right, it happens, right? The guy's showing off his forehand, manning up over there, showing you, hey, I got a great forehand. All right, well, maybe once the match starts, it is going to be a big forehand, but maybe not. Let's see how he does once the match starts. It just might be a big old bluff, right? So look, if the monster is real, then okay. It'll be backhands, loopers, and droppers all day long. And I've, sometimes I've seen a guy, I've never played the guy before. I can't get intel on him from anyone else at a tournament. And you know what happens is in the warm-up, the guy's just thundering the forehand. And I'm thinking, all right, well, let's see how he does in the match. And once the match starts, gosh dang it. Yeah, he confirmed it. It's big. Okay. Well, guess what? You're not going to see in their forehand for quite a while. I don't know how long it's going to be. Might be for 10 minutes. It might be for the whole match. I don't know. But I'm not going to give you what you like. In fact, I'm going to give you just backhands. I'm going to give you loopers. I'm going to loop the ball in there. Maybe it's just changing the strike zone on his forehand. Maybe he only really likes the forehand contact point at a certain spot. Maybe if you loop in a high bouncer, gets up around his shoulders, the thunder's gone. I don't know. You got to probe a little bit, right? But even if it's all day, backhands, loopers, and droppers, so be it, right? No big deal. So don't get freaked out because someone's got a big monster shot over there in the warm-up and you start thinking, what am I going to do? Don't worry about it, right? Look, and just like I said, I've seen players who look like $1 million in the warm-up. Everything looks great in the warm-up. Not only the strokes great, but they come out there, they got they look unbelievable, right? They got all the stuff on, the collar's turned up, the hat's perfect, they look like Fed, they got all the Federer gear on. This guy looks like $1 million. He's smooth, and yet I've seen a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys who look great, and they look like $1 million in the warm-up, but it ends up being false advertising. They just, once the match gets going, it's just the wide nozzle spray. Balls are going everywhere, right? So don't automatically buy into it during the warm-up. Here's something else that happens. Man, the wind is just insane today. Oh no, what am I going to do? Right? Well, look, it's probably windy on their side as well. So I used to freak out. I used to go, God dang it, windy day, this sucks. What am I going to do? Oh no. And that would get inside my head. And I never really thought of it as, well, how can I flip this to make it an advantage? And I just started thinking, this guy probably doesn't love the wind at all. Let's see what I can do to use the wind to my advantage. Maybe I just, like I said, the loopers, maybe I roll some balls up there and let's see what happens. Let's see if we frustrate that opponent over there rather than us thinking, gosh darn it, this is going to be a lousy day. It's in the warm-up, and we've already started kind of story building because of the wind. We don't want to do that, right? Maybe you're at a tournament or a league match and they haven't washed these courts in 17 years. They certainly haven't resurfaced them in 38 years. And you're on the absolute worst tennis court in the history of the game. You know, the cracks on it, there's all kinds of stuff. What are you going to do? There's nothing you can do about it, right? It's done. You've put yourself in that position. I'm glad you have, because it's going to make you a better player if you don't use this as an excuse. If you find, look, I played on some courts that haven't been resurfaced, haven't been washed in a long time, and I go, oh, well, you know what? This court is going to play super fast. It's not like a new court in these days now where they put a lot of sand, you know, in the paint and all the mixture, and the courts play super slow. Now I'm on a court that if I play a slider backhand, if I play a serve and come in and just kind of get the ball to skid a little bit over there on the court that hasn't been resurfaced in 38 years and hasn't been washed in 17, that first volley is just going to blow. It's just going to go right through the skid over there. I love it. I love it. So don't let that be an excuse. And you might be playing on a court where, you know, you're somewhere and there's a huge construction project going on, you know, 200 feet away. And it sounds like someone is recreating the Taj Mahal over there, right? It's just like jackhammers and all kinds of stuff. And I embrace it now. I used to let it upset me. I used to think this sucks. This is going to be a lousy day. I just don't go there anymore. I just go, man, mentally, I love the challenge. The other day I was practicing and there was literally right next to the court, there was a car where the horn, the alarm horn just started going off. And I just chuckled to myself thinking, I used to just go, oh my God, yeah, God dang, come on, what an idiot over there. Man, can you figure out your car horn? And of course I was thinking, God dang, well, I'm glad that's not my car. And then I thought, well, maybe that'd be kind of cool. If it was my car, maybe it might. No, anyway, I digress. But you can't let any of this stuff become a story building excuse, right? So look, whatever seems to be conspiring against you, it's not. And this is the key here. And I used to do this. And look, I've lost some matches. Maybe you have as well, in the warm up where something I just didn't like was going on. And it just became an opportunity to start building a story of what my excuse was going to be if I lost today. In the warm-up, I was already telling myself, well, if we lose today, then I've got the story built up. I already know what I'm going to tell the fellas. I know what I'm going to go home and tell anyone, you know. Oh, well, you know, yeah, dang, you cannot believe it today. The court we played on sucked, right? This guy had a big old forehand, and I let it bug me, right? I didn't have my forehand today. I knew it. I knew it from the get-go. Didn't have it. So sure enough, I didn't have it, right? You can't let the warm-up be an excuse story-building opportunity if you lose, right? Okay, so look, as I said before, you got free will to think any way you want. So do that. Stay over here on the positive side of the net, and you're going to find a way. And I will tell you this, as I say with all of this mental, all the mindset stuff, is that all of it takes practice. It takes training. It takes daily habituating. Let's say that yesterday you went out in the warm-up and you freaked out because your forehand wasn't there, and it got inside your head, and your forehand showed up a little bit in the match, but not like normal. So rather than next time, I want you to practice this. I want you to sit down. I want you to visualize for 1 minute, 60 seconds. Shut your eyes and recreate that warm-up that you had yesterday, right? And recreate the forehand not working, and you going and telling yourself, oh, I'm just going to exhale through the ball. Just going to exhale through the ball through contact. I'm not going to worry about it not showing up. It is the warm-up, by the way. And I hesitate to tell you this story, but I'm going to. Back in the day when I got together with these three guys in Northern California up in Napa, when we had a chance to work with the great legendary coach Tom Stowe up in Northern California, I was no good. And these three guys were all friends of mine, but they were all within the top 5 of Northern California of the men's open. And so I just felt like a kid in the candy store up there. I was so excited to be in this group. I begged my way into the group. And the first couple of times I went up there, and we would have 3 hours on a Wednesday morning with Mr. Stowe, and we'd be warming up. And because these guys were good and I felt this pressure, I got to really, I got to try to raise my game to play with these guys. In the warm up, I'd miss a few. And every time I'd miss a ball, I go, hey, sorry. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. And finally, like the second time I went up there, I did that. Stowe he went over there, he stopped everything. He says, Mr. Abel, this is the warm up. This is not the match. This is not anything. This is the warm up. Guess what happens in the warm up? We actually miss a few balls. How come? Because we're warming up. So shut up, don't apologize, and just accept the fact that you're going to miss some that maybe you don't when we're out here playing and practicing, or maybe even the match. So same deal. If you miss a few balls in the warm-up, it's expected, right? Just tell yourself two things. Number one, I'm going to exhale right through the ball. And number two, I trust. I trust that my forehand will be there once the match gets started. Go back and visualize that thing, like I said before, 60 seconds, 90 seconds. Do that a couple of times a day. And I'm telling you, that's the kind of practice that you need to do for this mindset shift training. As I said, just trusting your strokes. Yeah, you might have to adjust today. I don't know. I've gone out there some days. Would I love to be able to hit a topspin clean roller? Of course. But maybe today it's just not quite working out that way for whatever reason. I'm not going to sit there and try to analyze why. Maybe I'll throw in a couple of slice forehands instead, just to stay in the point and just see what happens. Maybe I just need to relax my grip tension a little bit. I don't know. But if I have to adjust today, well, that's okay. Look, you don't have to bring out your A+ game every match to win. And I think that's a big thing that players go, if I don't have my A+ game, if I don't play my game, then how am I going to win? How many shots do we hit where we have this intention of going right back up the middle and we're a hair late and the ball just beautifully leaks up the line, clean winner, completely unintentional, right? But that's just the reality of tennis. And the same thing goes for you don't need your A+ game to win a match. You just don't. So stop freaking out about not having a stroke show up. Stop freaking out about the conditions and turn all those things into a positive for you. And I think what you'll find is your warm-up is really an opportunity to settle in and to just feel good. And look, in my match warm-up, I do these physical things to start. And these are tangible, right? Anyone can do these. Number one, I've moved my feet so that the incoming ball is always to my side. Even if I get that out there in a practice session where we're both at the tees, right? I'm at my tee, he's at his tee, and we're just tapping, my feet never stop. My feet never stop. I'll warm up with guys, and they're rooted over there, right? They're straddling the tee, and whatever ball I hit to them, if it's a hair bit too far to the right, they reach out, but they don't move their feet. The ball's right at them, they just let it be right at them. I don't want my brain to be thinking that this is how we play the game of tennis. So in my warm-up, I'm always moving my feet. I'm just tiptoeing around in that little tee warm-up, and I'm always getting the ball to my side. And then when we move back, or we don't really do this in a tournament match, we always start from the back court, that's fine. But I'm always thinking to myself, first thing I've got to do is I got to create spacing in the path of this incoming ball. I don't have to hit the ball hard in the beginning. You don't either. But I do have to get my feet going because I want to tell my brain, hey, brain, this is really important that you kick me, you kick my butt today and tell me, let's keep the feet going. Let's make sure the ball is always to your side so that you've got the right spatial distance away from that path of the ball. Because you want to do what, right? You want to make sure you've got an instant shoulder turn to prep the racket. So my feet are moving. As soon as I see the ball to my right or to the left, even if I'm just tapping it back, warming up from the tee, that shoulder prep is just instant. I'm not facing forward and putting my racket back. I'm actually turning my shoulders. I want to get a full shoulder turn right from the get-go. And then the third thing is, like we said before, I'm making sure that I'm exhaling right through contact. These are 3 physical things anybody can do. You don't have to be a top player. You don't have to be whatever your rating label is, you can do these 3 things. And if you focus on these 3 things and not some of the other stuff that I mentioned before, you're going to find the warm-up really sets you up to be able to play the match that the way that you want to. And then the 4th thing here, little bonus thing, exaggerate the look of Fed. What's the look of Fed? It's the look of Roger Federer, of what he does through contact. Does his head move, and does he sneak a peek out in the landscape to look at the shot he's just hit? No. He feels it. He knows by the contact of the vibration from the racket string bed up through the racket, up into his hand. He knows exactly where he's hit the ball. He doesn't have to sneak a peek. And look, when I play my best, that's what I do. I just don't. When I don't play my best, I feel like I'm sneaking a peek out there, right? I'm looking out in the landscape before I've made contact. What does that do? It can really throw the alignment of your swing path slightly out of alignment. We don't want that, right? And the other thing it does for me when I have that look of Fed is it just gives me confidence. Just makes me feel confident. I don't have that anxiety. I got to see what I'm doing. So those are the 4 things right there. I think that you really want to copy and just do that. And again, anyone can do that. And while you're doing that, you can passively observe what's going on over there. Are they hiding something from you, right? Are they maybe running around backhands all day long in the warm-up because they don't want you to know it sucks, right? So they're just trying to hit forehands, and right. So what kind of intel are you getting passively by observing? But I wouldn't be sneaking a peek over there. That 4th thing I showed you about the look of Fed. Just be aware of what's happening over there, right? Okay, let's move on. So really, the warm up is an exercise in trust. You're going to be fine no matter what, but you got to practice thinking that way. So look, there's a minimal mindset training required that will help you come out of the match warm-up and with trust and confident plan of what to do. And that's really it, right? You come out of the warm-up and you just trust. You just trust that anything that could be a distraction, you know how to deal with, okay? And you've come out with a little bit of a plan. I mean, maybe you've already done some intel on this opponent, fine and dandy. Now you've got a little bit of a plan, but maybe it's someone you've never played against before. Okay. All right, well, let's start this way. Let's probe. Maybe there was nothing that you could figure out in the match. I mean, in the warm-up that would sort of give you an inkling of maybe I should try that, right? And so, look, you may have to probe. You may have to tinker. You may have to kind of explore and see what he doesn't like. Again, maybe it's one stroke. Maybe it's a pattern. Maybe he doesn't or she doesn't like it when you play something deep and then you play a drop shot. I don't know. Maybe it's a certain kind of movement. Maybe they really don't like it when you play the ball directly at them and force them to have good footwork to get out of the path of your shot. Maybe they're slow in doing that and they end up, stroke technique gets compromised, and now you get a real offensive opportunity on the next ball because it's short. You have to probe, and that's fine. All right. Where are we here? So, look, if you have any questions about the warm-up, throw them in there. And I'm going to go back, look at what we've got here in the chat. But again, if you haven't picked up my 5 Mindset Habits course, you can next week. It's going to go back on, and a lot of you did. That's great. And I'm going to add this new section to it, which is going to be specifically about how do you play better in matches that count that you do in practice. And I used to have the opposite, right? I used to really play great. Well, I wouldn't say play great, but I played okay in practice, and I just sucked in the matches. And I'm gonna kind of tell you through that, or I'm gonna walk you through that story. So again, look, as I want to get a quick drink of water here. If you haven't taken advantage of this yet, do so. Don't know how much longer I'm gonna be able to offer it. It is a free, no charge, complimentary 15-minute call with me, private, one-on-one. And what I want you to do is kind of bring the one thing right now that if I could help put you on a path to solve that, to get the ultimate result that you want, that's what we'll talk about, right? And again, 15 minutes, all I ask is just bring that one thing. and let's kind of do a deep dive on it. To do that, just go over to webtennis.com/free dash. There's no dash. What am I saying? webtennis.com/free 15 call, and you'll get access to my online calendar where you can cherry pick a date and time that works best for you. Hold on for 1 sec. Okay. Where are we here? Let's see. Okay, good. This is the time where if you've got some questions, load them up. Let me go back in the here in the chat. And again, you can ask me anything. Tactics, stroke technique, strategies, how do you play with a weaker partner? I don't know, kitchen, fitness. Okay, so Mark's asking racket head size. I'm almost 70. I have a 104-inch Volco. Noticed a few years ago you were hitting with around a 115, and you are way better than my very low 4.0 ranking. I play doubles only. Look, Mark, yeah. So in 2016, I had been playing with a Babolat Pure Drive 110. Which was the original Pure Drive without any Cortex. And eventually and I liked the no Cortex because the racket actually had a little vibration in it. And I liked that because it actually, like I was talking about with the look of Fed, it actually gave me some real information about what I'd just done with the shot that I'd hit, rather than no feel at all, right? But yet, to be able to use that racket, I think you really needed to not squeeze it tight. And that's why I think some players got problems or got problems with the elbow with that racket because they were squeezing it tight and there was some vibration in there. And so then they went to the Cortex, which just completely, for me, made the racket dead. And so for a couple of years, I just started scouring the internet, where I can't remember, I guess, anyway, I was looking all over the web for used rackets, and finally, I just felt like I just sucked the whole internet dry of that racket, and there was none left. And so I don't know how it happened, but Weed, the company Weed, had sent me a Weed 125 EX. I don't know, a year or so before. It was in the garage, and I was about to leave for Minneapolis to play the National Indoor 65s. This was in 2016. And I just said, you know what? I went out and I hit some balls with it maybe a week before I was supposed to go, and it felt great. And I went, well, you know what? So I called up Dennis at Weed, and I said, Dennis, will you send me one more of these? I had to go play a tournament, so can you string it up like this for me? He sent it to me. And I just took both of those Weed rackets to the tournament, just cold turkey, left my other ones at home and just said, all right, talk about an excuse story thing here. I said to myself, if I play like crap, I've got the greatest excuse of all time. You know, I left my normal rackets back in Northern California, took these new ones, and I went back there and I actually played pretty well. And I just said, well, I guess I can do this. So I've just stuck with it. I've stuck with the Weed 125 EX for the last 7 years now and have had good results. And so, yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. A bigger sweet spot, a bigger headed racket means two things. Number one, a bigger sweet spot means that if I'm slightly off center, I'm probably okay. And number two, I get to do less with stroke technique to be able to get more spin and more power. And as we get older, that's not a bad thing. When I first got that racket, I had to kind of tinker around with string setup. And the first few go-arounds weren't great, but I've now found out that I can string that with a 17-gauge poly at 65 pounds, and the cross for the mains and the crosses are an 18-gauge gamma, just kind of synthetic gut, really cheap stuff, also at 65. And it loosens down pretty quickly, but I mean, I can't break strings. Maybe once every 6 months I'll break a string, but that's about it. And for me, they're good. This year I've been practicing a lot, playing a lot of tournaments, And it's good. I mean, I don't have to get them restrung I get them strung 3 at a time, maybe every 6 weeks, maybe every 2 months. And I've got enough backup. I've got, 5 or 6 always in the, so yeah, look, I would suggest you tinker around, go look at something bigger. The weed I think is fine. And so let me go here. What do we got here? Alex, how do you win with a lower ranked partner? Yeah, I'm assuming here. Well, yeah, partner doubles. So whenever I've played with someone who tells me, or it's just they're just lower ranked, right? And that's fine. I'm not going to go to them and say you have to do this and you have to do that to fit into my game, because I want them in their comfort zone. I don't want to immediately put them out of their comfort zone. So I'm going to say, hey, tell me, if I've never seen you play before, what do you like to do? What's your favorite way to play doubles? And if they tell me, you know what, I really don't like to play up at net, great, that's fine. What do you like to do? I love my ground strokes, and I hit a pretty mean lob. I love it. I love it. Here's what I'm going to do when you do that. I'll be up at net. That's great, which will funnel the ball over to your ground strokes, which you like to hit. And let's just, if the guys come in, maybe you can hit a ground stroke aiming only down at their feet. That gives me an opportunity now to be able to maybe fake poach or poach, right? If they get up there at net, hey man, throw your lob up there. Yes, let's get it up there. And I'll just kind of move more to the middle of the tee, kind of in there, in anticipation of them hitting a lob back. I might say mine. If it's really deep, I'll let you do it. And you can go ahead and play another lob or ground stroke, but whatever makes you feel comfortable. Now, what I've found is that way seems to work better in terms of a winning combination than telling my partner, hey, dude, all right, I'm the man. Here's what you got to do. You got to fit into my game. And now all of a sudden, maybe, like I said, they don't feel comfortable up at net for whatever reason, right? Okay, well, then I'm trying to make them feel uncomfortable up at net. Why would I do that? That just doesn't make any sense. It's going to be a lousy experience for them. And so find a way to work out some kind of a hybrid deal. And that's kind of the extreme, right? I mean, I like my partner to be up at net, and my partners I play with, same skill level, we like to play up at net in doubles. But if I've got someone who doesn't, I'm not gonna shoehorn them into what's gonna make them uncomfortable. And I just feel like we give ourselves a better chance by doing that. If there's something more specific, Alex, that you're thinking about, let me know. Same thing, Tanya. How do you win with someone you've never played with before? I don't know. I mean, what you're saying is, what's the formula for winning with someone you've never played before? There is no formula, right? Again, you have to kind of check in with each other. And if this is someone you've never played before and their skill level and you guys are the same, well, then I think both of you need to kind of chat before you play and go, what do you like to do? Well, here's what I like to do. Well, what you find out is that one of you, or that you guys like different things. So one of you is going to have to step up and say, okay, well, let's, I'm not going to play your style, but your way of playing, I think we can make it work with my style. And so you take the two styles and you work them together. And the one that I just described, which is, if you love to stay back, do it. And let's just work that way. I hope that helps. Okay, let's keep rolling here with some questions. Okay. So Robin's saying, during key points, more tendency to look where we want to hit it. Yeah, I just know for me, the look ahead, and someone in the email yesterday, maybe it was today, just said he loves that. He calls it the Fed head. And I told him I'm stealing it, and I'm stealing it right here. And it's really just, he just doesn't move his head, right? What's it look like? How do you copy that look as you pass through the ball? You just have to practice it. You have to work on it. You have to take your 50 balls out there with a bag and you have to throw the ball up, feed yourself, and hit 25 forehands, hit 25 backhands, and don't even see where they go. Start to get comfortable with that sense that you don't need to sneak a peek. And certainly when you get really good at this, you'll be able to do that on big points in the match. Hey, Dave, thanks for joining us. Woodbridge, Ontario. So Joe's asking, how do you get the new part you're adding? Well, it won't be going up until next Thursday, Joe, if that's what you mean. I think that's what you mean about the new section I'm going to put in the 5 Habits course, which a lot of you on here picked up last week. Well done. But I'm going to add to it next week. And it's really going to be specific about how do you overcome that thing playing better in practice than in matches. We're going to flip it to where you play better in matches than you do in practice. Jim's asking mindset for transitional volleys. Is it much different for singles versus doubles? To me, the mindset, let me start with the doubles part. To me, the mindset is I'm really transitioning to join my partner up at net, even if I'm playing it from, the transitional area. I haven't gotten to the service line yet. Even if sitting up there, it's kind of a floater and it's a high forehand volley. If I haven't really gotten myself inside the service line, I don't feel like geometrically I've got a good enough angle to be able to go to it, even though I've tried it from behind the service line way too many times. Get the high forehand. It's really a transitional volley. Should be played back to the player in the backcourt, or maybe short, depending if they're the lob king or lob queen. But too often I'm just going to torch this thing right in the middle. And I just don't have the right geometry for it. None of us do from that area. And it's just typically for me, I get anxious, I get out in front, and the ball goes down the net. So my mindset for both of these transitional volleys, Jim, is I'm thinking, what's the spot above the top of the net I want my volley to pass through? I want it to go through. I'm not thinking about, sticking it or doing anything result oriented. I'm just thinking about what's the spot above the top of the net. And when I started thinking that on that high forehand kind of floating, you're back behind the tee transitional volley, one little voice is popping off in the shoulder over here going, come on, man, come on, let's go. Let's just crush this thing. Let's be the man. And that voice really never worked out. So it's more for me, just where do I want to concentrate and take my time? I want to concentrate and take my time to wait for the right moment for contact where I feel comfortable playing at a certain spot above the top of the net. And it's a transitional volley, right? So what is the key word there is really more transitional. I don't want to stand there and hit it and get stuck there. I actually want to move through it a little bit, right? Doesn't mean that the old cliche, you don't want to move through your volleys. That's not right. You actually want to bump against it. You can use less volley technique if you've done the right thing with footwork in terms of creating the spacing you want to the path of that incoming transitional volley you're going to play. And you can bump against it with a little footwork. I'm not saying you want to run through it, but it's transitioning. You want to really improve your court position. That's what I'm thinking about it. So it's more the transitional part than it is the volley part. You can really minimize the technique on that. And then in singles, it's kind of more towards, have I just being right-handed? Have I served out wide to the deuce court, for example, and the guy has played a pretty firm ball back to me where I know that I'm going to be able to, I'm playing serve and volley, the ball's on me, I've got it, super positive, I'm taking time away. He's actually robbing himself of time. I served him out wide. He's now giving me some pace. I love it. All I need to do is get the racket prepped early behind what's going to be the contact point and just redirect it to the open court and get the guy running. And I'm not thinking about result going, oh, I've got a wide open lower 40 over there. So why don't I just stick it and really rub it in? I'm thinking much more about what's the spot over the top of the net. I want to play this volley to the open court, and I want him to have to run. I want him. I mean, look, would I love to stick it over there where there's no way he can get it? Of course. But that's not real. I can't do that all the time. My intention sometime might be, I just want the guy to run. I'll get it over there. Ooh, wow, I hit that one well. Okay, let's just take that as icing on the cake. But I'd rather make the guy run. I'd rather make the guy get a little ticked off that he gave me so much pace, and now he's thinking, whoa, I was the man that hit the pace. No, you're not. You got to run, dude. And now he's running, and I like it when I actually like it when they get there and they pop it up, and all I have to do is really I could take the racket handle and just doink into the open court. But I want to drain the fuel tank, right? That's part of it. I get way more benefit. I get bigger bang for my buck on this transitional volley if I not only play it where I want to, but I make the guy drain a little bit of fuel out of the tank. So aim above the top of the net. Don't think result. That's the mindset you want to have on that, Jim. Joe, how do you break down Al Yearwood's game to beat him? How long did it take you? My problem is finding my opponent's weakness unless I play them more than once. Well, Joe, I'd have to charge you a lot on that one about the Al Yearwood game. And I don't really break it down. I just have to concentrate like crazy, and I have to simplify everything. And I have to realize that Al, being a good player, he's going to hit some outright winners off of some of my really good stuff. I can't let that bother me. I can't let that deter me from playing what I think is the way to play him, at least what's worked for me. And look, what's worked for me might not work for someone else. Any of us, there's different ways to beat any player out there. And it's sort of dependent on what you do well or what you find well. I mean, look, your backhand could be different than mine, could be way better than mine. And so maybe on your backhand, you do something to probe over there that's different. But we got to be careful that just because here's what works for me is also going to work for you. You can try what works for me, but that doesn't mean that you have to completely wholesale, oh, well, he takes his slice backhand and he does this to him. My slice backhand's not really great. I'm actually better coming over the ball. All right. So maybe you have to kind of look at it that way. But I can tell you what I've done against Al, but that doesn't mean it's going to do anything different against anyone else. And it doesn't certainly mean the next time I play him that the same result is going to happen. I played him 3 times this year. I played him in the indoor, the finals, Houston. I played him on the finals of the clay court there in Baton Rouge, and I played in the semis, the hard courts. Every one of those 3 matches were different. They didn't run the same exact playbook, the same pattern, the same things happened. It just doesn't work that way. So I'm being a little, I wouldn't call it flippant about the answer, but yeah, I don't think I'd want to put it out on the internet of, what I do to beat a certain guy. We can certainly talk about it, Joe, at the clay courts if you want to do a deeper dive on it. See, Ahmad, the tournament, the ball is very fast and most of my forehand go out using my swing. Okay, well, so maybe relax the grip. Maybe you're just tense in the tournament, and maybe you've got a grip strength that's just way too strong and balls are flying on you. I don't know, man. Without seeing you, really tough. That's what happens to me sometimes. I get a little over anxious and the balls just take off. And for me, if I just relax my grip pressure throughout the entire swing, just sort of feeling like it's going to firm up naturally anyway at contact. Maybe it is, maybe it won't, but I'm not going to force it. For me, I just got a higher quality spin, and the balls don't seem to fly. The other thing is if you're playing on a fast, the ball is fast, maybe the court's fast. Well, man, if I get onto a fast court, I'm not staying back. I'm chipping and charging behind every second serve. I want the ball to skid over there. I'm playing a lot more serve and volley because that first volley is naturally going to have some more skid because of the fast court. So if it's the court that's fast, then get your fanny on in. Yeah. Do I still have my webtennis.com store? I do. Let me type it in here. Let's see what happens here if I go. I think it's webtennisgear.com. Try that. See if that works. Alan, yeah, good to see you. 75 and over singles. Any pearls for footwork, anticipation, split step, which becomes a real challenge for the latter. Other than getting out there and training it, there's no mindset shift that you can do. There's no, quick little nugget other than doing some drills, just doing some footwork drills, right? Like the little ladder stuff. You put the ladder down and just go little twinkle toes through it and work on your posture, work on your balance through all these drills. Do some short sprints, right? So start back at the baseline. Let's say the corner of the baseline and the intersection of the double sideline, and just sprint forward to halfway between the center service line. Just sprint, and just right there, just put in the brakes and see if you can come into a split step that's on balance, right? So a lot of this is not getting your upper body too far in front. One of the problems with that is that we're falling through our split step, and really the purpose of the split step is what? The purpose of the split step is you come into it so that you're in this athletic posture that whatever shot comes out from that opponent over there, whether it's to your right or to your left or right at you, that you can quickly react in that direction, right? That's the whole purpose of the split step. And if we're off balance, two bad things happen. Number one, if we're running with our upper body a little bit too far forward, as we come into the split step, we take another step forward to kind of reclaim our balance. But number two, you visually don't track the ball well if you're off balance. If you're running slightly off balance, upper body is leaning, is moving forward, and coming into your split step, you just don't visually have that acuity to be able to track the moving ball. So you got to work on posture and balance. Do some nimble drills, do some balance drills. Step on one foot, and can you just lift up the other foot, raise your knee, maybe whatever. How long can you hold that position without falling off balance? I don't know. Not that easy. I mean, I do that every day. I do that with my stretching every day, where one of the things is where I'm bending my knee to work on stretching out my quad, right? Upper leg, the muscle in front. And I'm holding it up with the same hand, right? If I'm stretching out my left quad, I'm trying to bring the heel close to my butt, right? But I'm trying to see if I can do this with just standing on one leg without using anything else for balance, right? Without holding onto the fence or holding onto the net post, right? It's not easy. At least it wasn't easy for me. I'm getting better at it. But those are the types of things that you can do. So look, whether you're 75, whether you're 25, the split step is really about posture and balance, and doing some drills and doing them regularly so that you get better at them. All right. Naples. Yeah. Say hi to Phil and Mikey. Landauer, next time you're there. Two of my all-time favorite people. Let's see. All right, Don, Ahmad, if forehand's going along easier than changing your swings, maybe try closing your racket face a bit more. Could be. Yeah, you got to tinker with it. Or more topspin. Jim, I'd be careful with that. I just think more top gets us into, the balls landing short. More top to me reduces the contact area. We get in and out of contact so fast that unless you're really swinging forward through the ball, with a closed racket face and maybe a little bit more of a semi-forehand Western grip, which now I'm just going careful. Colin, thanks for joining. Who else we got here? I play better in matches than practice. Good for you, man. Good. Alex, on a weak second serve, should I pound the net, man, or go to the open court? Well, I think you got to mix it up, right? I do it all. Typically, I want to get the ball in front of my partner, right? And so my partner, if I go cross court, the ball gets in front of them. I want to give them the opportunity to show a fake poach, to maybe show a fake poach early and then actually go. I want them to be the one who is really, once the return goes back cross court off that second serve, maybe it's a chip by me and I'm coming in. So not only are we presenting a tougher target for that server, but my partner's also doing a fake poach or doing something to kind of dirty up the landscape for that server. So will I go with the net player? Sure. From time to time, I will, just to keep them at bay so they're not poaching, because I ultimately want to go cross court with it. And then the other thing is I'll throw in some lobs, right? Where if the guy's poaching or the server's really crashing the boards off that second serve because he's got time, I'll throw in a lob. So I want to do all three things. I want you to be careful of thinking that a second serve return is an opportunity to win the point outright. You don't know what they're going to do over there. You don't know what they're going to anticipate or guess that you're going to do, right? They don't know if just because you say, well, shall I pound the net guy, doesn't mean that net guy isn't thinking the same thing. Hey, man, you're coming at me. I'm ready. Let's go. And if I think I've got someone who's taking my partner's second serve and I think that their tendency is to pound it at me, boy, the first thing I'm doing is I'm showing a big fake in there, right? I want to visually distract. I want to get myself going. And now, who knows? Maybe they pound it and it kind of depends. Maybe the serve took them out. They run around the back end. They pounded at me. How big is the court now? How big is the middle? So the answer is, at least for me, I'm going to show them all three shots on that second serve from time to time. But ultimately, I want to involve my partner. Hold on, guys. Need water. These are great questions, by the way. Keep them rolling. Let's see. You mentioned the key to controlling the match is to figure out your opponent's weakness. How do you do that in the warm-up, or try using different patterns? Appreciating tips. Yeah, sometimes you can see it in the warm-up. Sometimes you can see, man, this guy's really weak on that one shot. Sometimes you can see, God dang it, their serve really doesn't have much on it. I wonder if they've got a bump shoulder. Maybe they come up and they just play a couple of volleys, right? They don't want you to see that, man, I really don't want to be at net. I'm going to be back in the baseline all day long. Okay, if I see that, what am I thinking? Well, I'm not going to give them what they want. I'm going to give them what they don't want. And it looks like to me from the warm-up, they don't want to be up at net. So I'm going to play a ball or two deep. And then the third one, I'm going to disguise it and play a drop shot. And I'm going to let them come up. If they come up, I'm going to, unless it's a clear, wide opening for the second shot, a passing shot, I'm probably going to play it directly at them and see how they respond, right? And look, I've seen this before where someone doesn't want to be up at net. I drop shot them, win a few points. And now what happens is they go, gosh dang it, I better start hitting my beloved ground strokes even better. And they start missing. So it could be that. So it may be, though, that you don't discover anything in the warm-up and that you have to probe a little bit for the first few games, first 3 or 4 games. You might lose one of those games. Okay, as you're probing, I'll take that. If I'm down 3-1, but I found a pattern or I found a weakness, boom, I'm going to it, a steady diet of it. I might not find a weakness over there, but I might find such a big shot that they've got that I'm just going to avoid it. I'm just going to avoid it, right? So, yeah, I think I hope that helps. Jim, can we come back to the kitchen? Any favorite recipes you'd like to share? Yeah, I mean, look, we primarily eat a non-inflammatory diet. And the reason is because as we get older, and I turn 75 years old next month, I feel great. I don't feel my age. I mean, I look around at some other 75-year-olds and I see what they're eating and I just go, I don't want to be doing that. I mean, I don't want to look like they seem to feel. And so for me, I avoid wheat as much as possible, primarily because the wheat we have now for the last 75 years has been hybridized to this thing that spikes your insulin higher and faster than sugar, um, or so they say. Um, and so for me, that's number one. I hardly eat any sugar. Um, we actually got off of meat and chicken and fish about 5 years ago. We've for various reasons, I wasn't feeling great after eating a burger, and so we stopped doing that. And afterwards, I instantly lost, I don't know, I'd say 10, 11 pounds. And I wasn't what you call overweight, but it was clearly weight I didn't need. I didn't feel weak. I'm not saying that you got to do that. Um, and we still eat some fish now and then. And we've actually started eating a little bit of ELK recently, only because we've heard it's really good and done a little deep dive on it. Not sure where to keep doing it. But just for me, look, I had a shoulder issue earlier this summer, and part of it was just severe arthritis. The rotator was intact, was fine, but I just really doubled down on making sure to get the inflammation knocked out that I really went non-inflammatory. So that's where I would start. And look, I would reduce calories. Just reduce calories is a great way to do it. I think we just, in this country, we just overeat like crazy. And we just don't need it. I just don't think we do. So, yeah. Look, Jim, I'd love to work with you on this. If you want to do a little bit more, sign up for that 15-minute call. Again, it's over at webtennis.com/free15, just the numbers 15 call. Let's get on the call. We might spend a little bit more time than that. But let's dig in. Let me see what you're doing. And I think that I love to motivate people with a kitchen. It just really, not only with the tennis, but the lifestyle and how much better people feel on the court, off the court. It's really a great deal. Okay. So Tanya, yeah, appreciate this. Thanks for your work. And I always remember the pillars you and Jeff gave me, especially number 4, a stable platform to hit from. When I keep this under my feet, all my shots are better, for sure. And Jeff's really, really big. And by the way, that young man, I keep, going, Jeffrey, the people want you back. Come on, let's go. And he's got a few things going on. He's mom and dad and some other things going on, but he's promising to come back, and I'll just keep bugging him, and we'll get him back on. But one of his big deals is you've got to establish a hitting platform, which kind of goes back to what I was talking about. We too often get our upper body too far in front. And I think timing wise that we're more often too early than we are too late. I'm not saying we don't occasionally hit the ball too late. We do. But I think more often than not, we're too early. Some of that's being over anxious. We really got to get this ball. The opening's over there. It's closing down. Got to get to it. And we're too early. And we don't make the shot. But Jeff he's really great about harping on you've got to establish a hitting platform. And the hitting platform is really good balance, is really good posture, and letting the swing kind of swing out away from that platform. So, Tanya, good stuff right there. Susie at 66 with bad knees, how to improve cardio. Well, if you can do the elliptical, if that doesn't stress it, I would do that. If you can do the stationary bike, I would do that. And, running, no. Sprinting, no, probably at this point. I'm assuming you're wearing some kind of a brace or maybe some kind of one of these compression sleeves. I mean, I wear a compression sleeve on my left knee. I'm not in any pain. It's not a bad knee, but it's been tweaked enough times. It's a little structurally weak. And so I just wear it more for a little bit extra support, and kind of up here, I feel like it's not gonna tweak. So I just think if you can do some cardio that way, I don't know any other way, maybe some swimming, which I think you can, if you swim hard enough, even though you're not sweating, maybe you're in the pool, but get your heart rate up. And I don't know how to do that upper body wise. I'm sure there are some machines in the gym you could do, but I would try the elliptical, the stair climber, if you can do that. And to get some, maybe you got to really get some kind of braces on both knees to really stabilize them and just take the stress off when you're doing that. Maybe you don't do that in tennis when you're on the court. If that helps, great. Okay, let's see, what do we got here? Okay, Alex, it seems that I'm hitting more swing volleys from all over the court. Any comments? Don't know why. Don't know why you'd be doing that, unless you're being encouraged to do that. All I can tell you is if they're going in, okay. If they're going in, keep doing it. Keep doing more of what's working, right? If it's not, then it could be that, look, the swing volley for me, I mean, it doesn't happen too often, but what I found is just my swing setup. It typically goes short in the net. So I have to artificially aim higher to a spot over the top of the net to make sure it goes in. And so, and again, I never think about the result. And I never think about being a winner. I just think about, okay, well, for whatever reason, I'm in this situation, I'm going to play swing volley. I don't play swing volley in my backhand ever, but on the forehand, once in a great while, okay. And now all I think about is, this is just an in-play, high above the net. Does it end up as a looper? No, it ends up as kind of a little topper drive. But I have to raise my sights over the top of the net, and if I don't, the ball should typically go down. So I think you have to answer those questions. Why are you doing it? If you're doing it and it's working, well done. Just keep it going. If it's not, I mean, look, here's the other thing with swing volley I found with some players too, is it doesn't allow you to improve your court position. Like, for example, we talked earlier about a transitional volley. If you're transitioning with a swing volley because it's a topper, I just don't think that it's as efficient to transition, right? To be able to get through it. You might be able to play it, but now you're kind of stuck at that transitional area. And I think the transition part is more important. So Jim is mentioning rope flow. That's the last comment. So guys, let me go back. I hope this has helped. Let me go back to part 3 of what we're working on here today and so next week, what I've got is a short course, meaning I'm adding a section to the existing kind of master course on the 5 habits, mindset shift, habit training. And it's a section on why do so many players play so much better in practice than they do in the real deal. I'm not saying everyone does, and I'm also saying some players have figured out how to go from playing actually how to be able to play better in matches than in practice. And that's me. I mean, I figured this thing out quite a long time ago, but I'm telling you, in the beginning, it wasn't pretty. I'm gonna tell you that story in just a second here. So look, I haven't put the finishing touches on this thing yet, but I want to hear from you. What do you want to see in this course? If you're struggling with that dynamic where you're playing better in practice than you are in the real deal, right? Let me know. What do you want to see in this course? What would be something that you're struggling with that maybe is unique to you? If you don't want to put it in the chat, that's fine and dandy. Just shoot me an email, brent@webtennis.com. But what absolutely has to be there in this course to make it make it a homer. I had a home run. It automatically corrected a homer. Okay, that's fine. Just go ahead and type it into the chat area. So for me, I used to be a mess with this thing. Really had a problem with it. And when I was coming back to play as a young adult, mid-20s, Berkeley, California, I really hadn't played tennis. Didn't play much as a junior. I was really a baseball guy. But I started to play a lot of tennis when I was about mid-20s. And so Berkeley Tennis Club, been a life member there, even though I really hadn't taken advantage of it. And so I was playing as much as I possibly could, just loved it. And there was this guy there, member named Bill Steggy, and Bill was a really fine player. He was good, nice enough to play with me once a week, maybe sometimes twice a week. And in the beginning, in practice, he would just kick my butt, and it was just kind of a waste of time for him, I think. But after about 6 months, I was getting closer. And for once in a while, I'd actually take a set off the guy. And then eventually, about a year into it, I was getting really close to this guy. And I was playing him on pretty even terms. And so I'll never forget this one day, I said, hey, look, thanks for playing today. You want to play this weekend? He said, can't do it. I got a tournament. I'm playing a tournament over in, I can't remember where it was. And I said, wow, well, tell me about that. And he said, yeah, it's, and this is before we had the USTA NTRP rating system. Everything was just A, B, C, D, right? A was for the good guys. D's were for the players. And he said, yeah, I'm just playing a B tournament over there. And he said, you got to play. And I said, okay, all right. So sure enough, I looked up I looked at the schedule. You couldn't look it up. We didn't have any online stuff then. So I looked at the schedule, and there was a tournament coming up in a couple of weeks, the Walnut Creek Bees, out a little bit east from where I was in Berkeley. So I signed up for it, and I got a postcard back saying, okay, great, thanks for signing up. Your first match is scheduled for Saturday morning at 8 o'clock at Heather Farms. So I show up 8 o'clock, Heather Farms, look at the draw, and who's my first round opponent? Bill Steggy. I'm going, really? All right. So we get out there, and I'm telling you, it was an out-of-body experience. I'm trying to warm up. Talk about the warm-up like we did earlier. I mean, I must have been squeezing the racket so tight, I was just crushing it. Whatever the handle was made out of, I'm sure it was falling off the racket. I was so tight. I was so nervous. I literally could barely hit the ball over the net. And we get going, and I lost the first set in, 11 minutes. Let's call it 12 minutes. And as we're changing sides on, the end of the first set, he looks at me and goes, what is going on? And I go, man, I got no idea. I don't know what's going on. And so we play the second set. Yeah, maybe it lasted a few minutes longer. I lose that 6-0. I lose to this guy 0-0. And I get in the car, and I look in the rearview mirror. So I'm sitting in the driver's seat, and I just go, what is wrong with you? You are just a complete idiot. And so, look, that was a classic, going from playing, I thought was pretty darn good in practice, to being a total mess with this same guy who I was playing close to. So, look, it was really a shock that I knew I really had to do something, or else I was going to find another sport or something. But I really didn't do anything else. I just thought it would go away. I just thought I'd kind of figure it out, right? And that's not really how it happened. So ended up playing more tournaments, playing more matches, same nerves, same disasters. It never really got any better. And especially between points in these tournament matches, I mean, the voices were just firing off in terms of all the self-talk that was so negative, that was so toxic. And I just, a lot of it, I was just kind of embarrassed. And so, look, you got to think about it. We're so much more naturally relaxed between points during practice than we are in a match. I mean, we just are. We're just naturally more relaxed. And so really what we have to do is be able to figure out, how do I get more relaxed between points in a match, in the real deal, whether it's league, whether it's tournament. Maybe it's a local club tournament, but they're going to post the results up there on the bulletin board or something like that. How do we take that feeling that we have in practice between points, and how do we transfer that over to the match? Because I've said this to you guys a million times. Between points and side changes, 80% of the match. If you don't manage that, if you don't take care of that time, then you know what? The 20% of the time you're playing the match, the real points, it just doesn't work out. You're just a mess. And that was the case for me. I didn't really know how to think between points. I never even thought about it. All I could do was just this crazy stuff, and just made me tighter. And by the end of the match, I really wasn't shaking off the nerves as I got through the match. I was just getting tighter and tighter because I was losing and losing and losing, and it was brutal. So, look, here's another reason. As dumb as it seems, there's really a self-perceived social pressure about the outcome of a match. Look, we're just social creatures, right? And in practice, it's not that big a deal. Of course, we don't want to lose in practice, right? We don't want to have to walk into the clubhouse and the first thing the guys say, "Well, who won today?" And he did. That's not all right. Yeah, the little bantering going back and forth, big deal. But look, when it's the real deal in a match or a league match, it just feels like there's more social pressure on us. There's team pressure if it's a league match. There's pressure about letting a doubles partner down, right? You're just feeling like, God, I'm nervous here. Now it's the real deal. I just don't want to let this guy down, right? So before we get into this, there's another reality about the social pressure, and that is, you know what? I don't want to lose to, in all caps, that guy. I just want to lose to this guy. How come? There could be 101 different reasons you want to lose to that guy. Maybe because he's the type of guy that you just don't like his game. His game it just drives you crazy. Or maybe he's the kind of guy that after the match, he walks up to the clubhouse and just goes, yeah, man, I got him again. Whatever reason, right? You have got to be able to find a way to get over that, because in the real deal, if you don't, that guy is going to continue to torment you. So look, there's three things here. Number one, by studying and then experimenting, I figured out a tangible way to retrain what I think about in practice and what I think about in matches. And this is a daily proactive, just a few minutes. We're not talking about carving out a lot of time, but just a few minutes habit that any skill level player can do. Number two, I tried books, I tried videos, I tried audios before that were just too much theory, right? It's like some guy with a PhD with a white lab coat was out there with terms and phrases that made no sense to me, right? Not really based on real match experience, but instead I had to find out what worked for me first. And I shouldn't say first, but what it was a systematic step-by-step. Do this first, do this second, do this third, that eventually the training of doing that thing eventually shifted my mindset to become an even better match player than I am in practice. And then third, all of the possible outside distractions that are completely out of our control, you know what? I now embrace them as distractions from my opponent and not for me. We talked about that in the very beginning. We can take distractions and we can use them as story building excuses in case we lose the match. It's just the worst feeling, right? We gotta not do that. So look, here's the thing. In this course next week, look for an email from me. I'm about 99% sure it's going to be coming out on Thursday next week. And this is something you're going to want if you have that situation right now in your game where you're struggling because you're playing so much better in practice than you are in the league or the tournament or some other match that you feel really counts. Again, I'd love to hear from you. What's on your mind? What do you need to see in this course to make it really something that you think would help you be able to accomplish that? Let's go back up here. And hey, Kev, thanks for hanging out. I guess you've already gone. So what, Tom? I did 15-minute call with Brent 3 weeks ago. My issue was I feel taking my eye off the ball before the course. He gave me 3 drills. Seems to be working. Love it. Absolutely love it. Can you explain the reference to target over the net as you visualize? Yeah, exactly. I'm visualizing a little target, a big ball, if you will. You can make it a rectangle. You can do it. You can make it a square. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I visualize, like when I'm serving, I look at, if I want to serve to the body, I look at the net and I go, okay, well, if my serve goes 18 inches to 2 feet over that spot on the net, it's going to go to that guy's body over there. And same thing with the transitional volley. If I visualize that I'm going to play my volley 3 feet, 2 feet, whatever it is, but yeah, it's a little window for me, or it's a little target, whatever it is, but I have to imagine that spot above the top of the net. I just imagine it, and that's what I do, and that's all that I think about on that. I think you learned it from Dennis. Yeah, that's exactly right. I learned that from Dennis Ralston, who got it from Poncho. Exactly. I think for me, the ball tracking is the biggest barrier to consistent. This is from Ron, to consistent performance. When I watch the ball, rarely, I probably play solid B- level tennis for my game. But when I'm not tracking, I probably average something like a 72. Not a failing grade, but less than my capabilities. I do track the ball better in warm-up than in the set. Yeah, so look, you said, but when I'm not tracking, I probably average, and what this is skill level range stuff right here, right? When you see the ball well, you consistently play at the top of your current skill level range. When you don't, sometimes you play at the bottom. Well, the average is the difference between those two. So how do you visually track a moving ball better so that you create better spacing to the path of that incoming ball? Better meaning it's consistent, so that when you deliver the racket, you're not having to, come up with some goofy swing because the ball's too far away, or it's too, you're just not improvising stroke technique, because now you're seeing clearly the path of the ball that's coming to you, which means that you're moving your feet, getting the right spatial distance away. Now you have an opportunity to be consistent with swing technique, which means you can be consistent with the contact point, right? So you've got to make sure that you're doing the drilling work, you're doing the posture work, the balance work, so that when you move, that you are not, your head's not bouncing around. Tom Stowe once told me, I think we asked him once, hey, what are the best athletes you think you can take as a beginner to really train them to become good right away? No hesitation, he goes ballroom dancers. He said, when they move, there's no head up and down. They are moving across the floor, and they are so unbalanced. They've got such great posture. And I think if you watch the great players in our sport, what you're going to find, if they could measure it, is that their movement, their head doesn't bob up and down, no matter how far they've got to run, no matter what kind of nimble thing or agility they've got going on. Their head is again not moving up and down, so they clearly see the ball so much better. Hope that helps. Ron, speaking of feeding the opponent what they don't like, I once watched a junior tournament where one guy hated hitting overheads. Literally every point his opponent loved, and the overhand hater should have played. Perfect. Just perfect, right? So Colin's saying the answer to playing better in matches rather than the practice is don't care if you win or lose, just enjoy the game. All right, well, maybe for you that works. That never worked for me. I mean, I couldn't go out there and really not care. Who cares who wins today? Oh, it's a beautiful day. Birds are flying around. Look at the clouds. For some people, that's it. For me, that never worked. I just way too competitive, and it just never worked. I tried it. I'd heard it. Other people had said, just don't care and enjoy yourself. And so for me, that didn't work. Maybe for someone else it does. Joe, the BPR, the between point routine, has really helped, especially serving the match at 5-4. Yeah, I mean, if you've been doing it, Joe, the entire time, yes, it's going to work when you're serving for the match at 5-4. But what you can't do is somehow find your way, for whatever reason, you get to serving the match in 5-4, and now you go, oh yeah, that's right, I've got to do my BPR, my between point routine. It's just not going to feel authentic. It's not going to feel real. It's going to feel like, oh, I'm doing something different now. So make sure you're disciplining yourself to do it from the very get-go. So guys, I've blabbed on here. This has been an hour and 41 minutes. Unbelievable. Almost an hour and a half since we started at high noon, 12:01 here actually, Pacific time zone. Look, I really hope today has helped. And I'm going to go back on this and just say, I'm going to say this here. Okay, no, I'm not going to say this here. Let's see what goes. All right, back to the free 15-minute call. I want to hear from you. Shoot me an email, brent@webtennis.com. What do you need to see in this course? If you are still struggling with that thing of playing better in practice than the matches, I want to know what do you need in the course to really start helping you change that situation. All right, Don, as always, thanks for showing up, guys. I'm gonna get some lunch here today. Rancho Mirage, California desert. I think we're cooling down a little bit. We'll see. Anyway, guys, I'm going to be in Virginia Beach, Virginia, starting next Monday, September 18th, flying in from, I got to travel, all-day travel day from Palm Springs to Norfolk, Virginia. So I'll get in there in the evening next Monday. If you're on the East Coast, or maybe you're playing the tournament, yeah, come on by. I'll be there Tuesday. And I should post the draws, which will have the times. And if you want to come by and say hi, introduce yourself, I love that. I absolutely love meeting you guys if I haven't already done so. So please do that. All right, guys. Again, any questions, brent@webtennis.com. And as always, we've got to get out there. We've got to help someone else have a great day. Guys, thanks for hanging out. See you again next time.